sponsor, Parati's Quality Meats, located in Cranford, New Jersey, serving customers all over New Jersey for the past 50 years. Welcome to another edition of Coach's Talk, presented by the Shore Football Report. And today we have the Toms River South Indians head football coach, Coach Ron Signorino Jr. here. Coach, thanks for coming on the show today.
Love being here. Thanks for having me, Coach.
That's awesome. I know you have a busy schedule. You're in the middle of your scrimmages and get ready for your exciting season this year. And Coach, I didn't realize this. I thought you were only 27 years old. And then, I was doing a little bit of research on you. 34 years as a football coach on the sidelines. Wow.
Yeah.
Now you got to explain your age.
It can't make me 27, can it?
That's awesome. So you saw so much football, and I can't wait to hear about it through your years. And of course, you're a coach's son and all that, but you have your own legacy too. 34 years is a lot of football that you could actually keep a conversation going at the dinner table, right?
Yeah, I could. I've seen a few snaps, that's for sure.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So let me embarrass you a little bit right here, just so everybody gets to know a little bit about.
It's not a very hard, difficult job to do,
Coach, this is your 11th year at Toms River South as a head football coach, and to me, that's very important, having continuity for a program. Having the same coach there for 11 years is important, because I think the average stay of a coach is like 4 years. So you being there 11 years says a lot about how important it is for those kids to wake up every day knowing that because you're more than a coach. Especially after last year, they need to have that figure there and knowing that you're not leaving, because a lot of people use it as a bucket list. I'm going to go here, then I'm going to go here and here.
Right.
It says a lot for you for 11 years. Why was that important for you to be in one place for 11 years?
Well, that's just kind of who I am, in my personal life. I'm not, I'm kind of a homebody. I don't need to go out and try all different things on the menus in restaurants. I kind of have my, what I get in each restaurant, and my boys kind of poke fun at me with that, but and the fact that it's at South, kind of, where I grew up, went to school,
Mm-hmm.
I have that affiliation with South, and it's always nice to, come back home where it kind of all started. So I've been blessed, to be at High School South. I loved all my other stops as well, but I just felt, like once, we got to South, I'm like, this is kind of, God willing, this is kind of where we're gonna end, when it's time. So I have no desire, to go anywhere else. I love being at South. Just love it.
You wanted to be a head football coach, which is great, but your stops on the way is also interesting, because your connections that you're getting, you really don't realize it until you take a step back and be like, wow, I've been in a lot of places. I've seen a lot of people on my stop. So let me just tell everybody where you are, and then you'll talk about your journey. Before Toms River South, you were at Monsignor Donovan, which is right around the corner, probably 2 minutes away. You coached with Dan Duddy, a guy who I really respect a lot, for 4 years as the OC there. Prior to that, you were at Toms River East for 5 years as the OC. So now you're kind of working the Toms River community. Mm-hmm. Before that, you were at Toms River South, coaching with your father for 4 years as the OC. Before that, you were at Brick for 5 years with a young head coach named Coach Wolf, right?
Yeah.
Before that, you were at Red Bank for 2 years. And then before that, you started out at Brick for 3 years. Now, Coach, you when you were at Toms River South, for those 4 years, you went to the state finals. You played at Rutgers.
Right.
1998, you lost to Ocean City, but what a venue that is, coaching at Rutgers, right? With your father playing in a state game, huh?
Yeah, that was, I kind of remember that day. It was actually a really nice day, and we went up against an Ocean City team that was really good. Our 98 team was a state championship caliber team, but Ocean City got the better of us that day. But just what a great experience, obviously for the players, in this enormous stadium, that you see on TV, and,
Hmm.
and it was a great experience, even for the coaches. Here you are coaching in this big stadium, and you're playing for a state championship, and even our fans. It was pretty cool for them too. I remember, we brought a couple few bus loads up there, and it was just it was a great day. Obviously we wanted to score one more point than Ocean City. We didn't, but that aside, just a great experience. Um, in fact, some of the guys that you bump into from that team, that's always a topic of discussion, and we often talk about and reminisce about some of those memories.
Yeah, that was a good team. And I know Ocean City had Sinclair, I think it was, right? The running back.
Yeah,
He was,
yeah,
that
yeah, and
was,
they were pretty big and athletic up front.
yeah,
Both lines. Yeah, that was a good football team.
yeah. And the coach, when you were at Brick, the second time at Brick, you won a state championship, which was your second state championship, 1994, South Jersey Group 3, which must have
Yeah,
been something special. I mean,
right.
did Warren Wolf have enough of fingers to put all those rings on? I mean,
He,
did he give you the extra ring and say, "Here, yeah,
he, I can get into Coach Wolf a little bit.
yeah"?
If you
You'll
want to,
you'll get
once
into
you
that in a
talking
sec.
up the
In a second,
process. Yeah,
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 coach. And then before that, you won your first state championship in 1989, South Jersey Group 4, again with Brick on your first time you were at Brick. So you
right.
kind of experienced a lot of success. You've been with some outstanding football coaches and legendary Hall of Fame coaches. You got, Warren Wolf, of course, your father. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean Dan
Coach
Duddy's been
Duddy.
there, 100 wins and all that. You
Yeah.
you have a good network of coaches that you always could bounce things off of, and
Yeah.
I mean that's incredible. Just
I just
putting
wish I was smarter so I could absorb more of what they were trying to teach me, because they
coach
were
so
fabulous.
much, yeah, but you know what? You're absorbing it while you're with them. That's the thing. The
Yeah.
mannerism, how they take the field. Um, I remember Coach Wolf telling me I was with him in an All-Star game, and he used to give gum all the time to everybody
Oh
before a
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
But yet he told me he wasn't superstitious. I said, Coach,
No.
what do
No.
what do you mean you're not superstitious? He goes, I'm not. He used to call
Yeah.
me Bobby too. And
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever Coach Wolf called you, that was your name. You never question him. You never
Yeah.
correct him. As long as he looked you in the eyes and said something to you, you go, "That's my name today."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes,
That's it.
but he never. He always said he was. I'm not superstitious, but everybody had to have gum in their hands from
Well, there
him.
was a few other little things
Yeah.
he did that kind of made that false statement too. So
Yeah, so I'll leave that up to you, Coach. But those are
yeah.
the things that kind of you kind of miss. You kind of
Yeah.
miss and all that. But and it built up your coaching philosophies. Having your father, which was very very big in your life too, but having Coach Wolf, your father, and like somebody like Dan Duddy. So, Coach,
Yeah.
here's what we do: the process. Take us through how you became the head football coach at Tom River South, and on your stops, some important stuff that you like to talk about, because that's how
Okay.
you became the head football coach, is your resume. It wasn't
Right.
just here I am. So, Coach, take the floor with
All right. So
you.
before you start asking all the questions, I need to ask you one question. How are you feeling?
Good.
Good.
I'm good.
All things are working out, and you're
Coach, I'm good, and I just had my second cataract surgery 2 days ago.
okay. Good.
My eyes, I actually can see now. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Praying
actually,
for
you
you.
coach, to be real honest with you, I needed to take a year off. I
Yeah.
did, and it's like charging up your phone. I,
Yeah.
I got so much energy now. It's kind of,
Good.
so I'm going to be doing a lot of this stuff to keep my mind off of, and staying off the sidelines and bothering you coaches that much.
Right.
So, but I'm having fun, coach. This is
Awesome. Good.
something my wife needed more than me, probably.
Yeah. I'm glad
Thanks
you're
for
feeling
asking.
better.
Good.
Yeah. Um. All right. The process. Oh man, I don't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Um. It started actually. I wasn't even going to get into coaching, and that was because of my dad. He was like, "Look, I was graduating high school. He's like, look, you're not going into teaching." He goes, "You'll never make any money. You're always going to struggle." And I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
So I went to college, and I actually graduated with an economics degree. Um, And then I went out and, was kind of doing my thing, which I didn't like doing. I didn't enjoy it at all. Like
Hmm.
just the hours and the commission, and it wasn't for me. I'm not a salesman. And by the grace of God, Coach Wolf had lost one of his assistants kind of late in the year, and Dad was already at Brick, and it was on the defensive side of the ball. So Dad had said, "Hey, you think maybe you want to try coaching?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll try it." Well, that was in '87.
Hmm.
And my first coaching assignment was at Brick Township with the legendary Coach Wolf, the defensive ends in Dad's 4-4 defense. Little nervous because of Coach Wolf and Dad and all, but so yeah, I really owe my teaching and coaching experience to Coach Wolf because he gave me that opportunity. That first year, I did kind of stay with my other job, but I was always rushing back and forth trying to get to practice. And I knew, I mean, I wasn't coaching 15 minutes, and I said, yeah, I like doing this. So I knew I had to go back, and become certified to teach.
Hmm.
And Coach Wolf was instrumental in that as well. So I was busy there for a little bit, working, coaching, going to school at night, trying to get my classes in order. So finally, then I went into teaching in 1990. Um, so after my 3 years at Brick on the defensive side of the ball, they had a special ed opening at Red Bank Regional High School. So I had a great experience there for 2 years. I actually coached my first year with Barry Sullivan, who
Yeah.
was the head coach at the time,
Yeah.
and I was fortunate and blessed and at that time meet Danny George. He was on staff. So me and Danny go back a little bit. And then my second year at Red Bank, I took over the freshman team. Um, and I was literally I had help with one of the young assistant. And that was probably the most football I learned in my whole career.
Hmm.
It's tough to run a whole program with by yourself. Um, and then there was a teaching job opened up back in Brick. So Coach Wolf was again instrumental in getting me back in Brick. At this point, I'm in their alternate school. So I'm working and teaching in Brick, and then I got back on staff again on the defensive side of the ball. When I started, I was always a defensive coach. Um, so that would have been in 92, 93, 94, 95, 96
Coach,
at Brick.
one question though. Now you're working under your father, who's a defensive coordinator.
Right.
How technical was he always? How was he as a defensive coordinator with you with your techniques of your DNs? Was he very critical, or he kind of?
Um, I wouldn't say no, he wasn't critical. I was blessed with really good players. Actually, my first 3 years, I was a defensive ends coach,
Yeah.
and then on the back end, the second stint, I was defensive backs. So I mean, I was fortunate enough to have some really good players. That helped. But Dad definitely he dotted his I's and crossed his T's. He wouldn't. I guess you could say he criticized, but in a loving way. But he wanted to make sure that his players are in the right position to make the play. I mean, that's one of Dad's mottos is be in the right position to make the play. So uh, it 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 was tough at times because he's your dad and he's a little tougher on you. But at the same time, here I am experiencing being at Brick, Coach Wolf and my dad, and we're winning football games, and it was a really really good time, and I learned so much. I learned so much, just not from Dad, but Coach Wolf, and like you said, how they just go about things. But even then, I still like I didn't have any plans to be a head coach.
Mhm.
At this time, I'm just loving being an assistant coach. Um, so then Dad gets the call to go back to high school South in '97. So we leave Brick, Dad takes over from 97 to 2000. And this was kind of, like I said, I was always a defensive coach. Well, Dad gets to South, and he literally just says, "Okay, you're running the offense." I'm like, okay. And again, I was blessed to have, some really good coaches on that offensive side of the ball. Um, particularly Walt Curry was there. He was a big help. Scott Campbell was a big help. Because I was a little probably overwhelmed early. Being a defensive guy, and now here I am trying to put in an offense at a new school with new players. But it worked out well. We had a really good 4 year run there at South. And then in 2001, uh, my good friend Joe Arminio is the head coach now at High School East. So I go over there. My first year, I'm kind of like an assistant where I'm coaching defensive ends and tight ends. And then the following year, the last 4 years there, he was gracious enough to give me the offense. So I ran the offense there, for 4 years with Brian Curry, who was just a fabulous offensive line coach.
Mm-hmm.
We had a really good run there too. A lot of fun. I love the East guys. And then in 2006, since I was a little Mighty Mike playing Pop Warner, I was out of football. Um, Coach Arminio had stepped down. They had hired Charlie Diskin, and I was out of football. I didn't have a job, coaching job. But it was good for me because I kind of went to see some of the other teams play, which you never get a chance to while you're
So
coaching.
now you know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
But you recharge yourself.
Yeah, but it was good in the fact that it reaffirmed it gave me affirmation that I miss it. Like, yeah, I still want to do this, because I wasn't doing it. I'm like, well, maybe that was it,
Right.
But I did want to get back into it. And then again, by the grace of God, Coach Dan Duddy, we reached out and he brought me on board at Monsignor Donovan. And just, I love Coach Duddy. It was some of my best 4 years, I ever had. And again, he was gracious enough to give me the offense. And we battled those. I was really proud of those 4 years at Monsignor Donovan. We did some good things. And so that was in 07, 08, 09, and 10. And then, I was blessed with then South opening up. And at that time, Frank Roselli was in central administration, and he called me in, and he was he gave me the job at High School South, and so that was since 2011.
I mean, how special is that? That your father was there twice, and then you got to coach in the same school. That, I mean,
Yeah,
how pumped was
yeah,
your dad?
yeah. It's and it actually even goes a little deeper than that because Matt Martin, who's Dad's grandson, my nephew, played
Mm-hmm.
for Dad. Played some quarterback for us till he got injured his senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was blessed enough to have my son Trevor come through,
Mm-hmm.
and play for us. So, you have three generations, right there now at South. So it's something that I can't really explain how just fortunate and blessed, that I am that I've been able to, look back and, have Dad, an assistant coach under me, and my nephew, playing and now coaching, and my son there, and so it was fabulous. It's just fantastic.
Coach, when you're at a family gathering, are the ladies of the family saying no football talk while we're eating,
Oh
or
yeah,
do they
yeah,
chime in with maybe midline and all that stuff?
exactly. So then we'll get up and go in the other room, and then we'll talk football. Yeah,
Coach,
but
that's
oh yeah,
that. Coach, that I just love the journey. I mean, I was writing down some head football coaches that worked with you on a certain side of the ball, like a Walt Curry, a Danny George. I mean, two
Yeah.
outstanding coaches that are still
Yeah.
currently coaching right now at Brick Memorial and Long Branch. Um, Dan Duddy, head coaches, Dan Duddy, Joe Arminio, Barry Sullivan, Ron Signorino Sr., of course, your dad, and Warren Wolf. I mean, those are wow. I mean, I mean
It's
that's some pretty good people to bounce things off of, man. And
fantastic. I mean, like I said, I know I've overused the word blessed, but that I am. I'm blessed to no end that I've been able to, learn and coach with some of the best guys around. So it's been awesome.
one question. So if you've seen your father when you were a young kid as a head football coach, so in your eyes, you weren't coaching with him when he was coaching there. Then you coached with him,
Yeah.
and then you saw him get the job, and not knowing that you were going with him again. Then you came with him, and then you became a head coach, and he came with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a cycle of events, huh, with that.
But yeah, that's light. That's a 360 degrees, right?
But each one
Uh,
of those things, you must have saw your father so excited with each different thing. I want to know this now. Now you're in your meeting. You're the head coach. He's
right.
now sitting at the table with all the
Right.
assistant coaches. I'm sure he has a
Right.
separate chair that he sits at and all that.
Right. Right.
But I mean, that must be something special. Do you ever pinch yourself going, "Wait, I was there, you were there, now we switch, and I'm here."
Yeah.
So, that's got to be something special though that
It
you got to
is.
cherish.
It's a little weird at times too, or at least it was. Dad's not. He's not on staff full time now. But especially early on, it was a little weird because for my whole life I took orders from him.
Hmm.
So now here I am, kind of telling him what to do and what he needs to do, and you know, critique him and tell him. And then every now and then he would say, "Hey, buddy, just relax. Relax. I'll get it done."
Yeah,
So it was unique.
that's awesome.
I love him. I love him to death.
All right, Coach, I'm going to take this mask off. All right, I don't want to talk anything negative about the COVID. Those 34 years of you coaching did not prepare you for last year at all. Nobody told you on those ways. All those legendary coaches, all those great coaches that you coach with, did not even talk about something like this that was going to happen 30 something years later. So I want to know what you learned, something positive in your program with the COVID last year.
On a personal note, it was awesome, particularly at the height of the lockdown. I mean, me and my wife, we cleaned out the garage, we cleaned out the shed, we cleaned out the attic, because we couldn't do anything else. So in that regard, it was pretty cool that we kind of tidied up a little bit, just to kind of pass the time. Um, Football wise, I take two things out of it, and I'm sure a lot of the other coaches have probably mentioned the technology. The kids were fabulous with that. I mean, I was kind of, if you talk to my younger guys on staff, they're like, "Coach, come on, you can do this."
Mhm.
So I learned a lot of stuff, and we did a lot of things like all the other coaches and programs did, online. But I think the biggest takeaway as far as the football program was we found out that we could do more with less. What do I mean by that?
Yep.
We didn't need to be there 4 hours. We did a pretty good job of sticking to that mandate of 2.5 hours. Um, so at the end we're like, wow, we're getting things done in 2.5 hours that we normally took 3.5 hours to get done. So that saved everybody a bunch of time throughout the season. Um, and I think also you appreciate the people that you could only be around during that time. Like, for me, it's my family, and then of course just the coaches and the players, and you kind of got a sense of appreciation for them, and uh, because at that point that's all we had. You couldn't go out anywhere else, and also, COVID. It hit me personally. It wasn't fun. It wasn't, it kind of knocked me down a little bit. But I think like you say, there was some positive spins from COVID. I think in the world, I think the world has kind of changed, how we do things because of COVID. So I would say it was though it would the appreciation and love you got from the people you can only be around, which was your coaches and players,
Hmm.
and the fact that we were able to do more or what we always did with much less time.
You're right, Coach. I
So
mean, we proved. I mean, like I said before, we played a team 2 days preparing and played our best football. Like
yeah,
if you told me that a couple years ago, I said, "What are you
yeah.
nuts?" And
I was like, "What do you mean I don't? I gotta have them 4 hours." Like no, you don't. You really don't.
we're playing St. John Vianney, my last game. 48 hours. I'm playing a football game. Didn't even have film on them until that 48 hours,
Right,
and we played our best football game ever. I think they were
right.
just happy to get rid of me. That's why they just, here you go. We
No,
won, get out. But
no.
it
They're
was
good for you, coach.
Coach, I mean, it's crazy, but you're right. The kids were resilient, and it taught us to be differentiate instruction, right?
Right, right.
A little bit with that. Who would have ever thought that 3 years ago we would be talking on a computer instead of seeing each other at the whatever that place is in Tom's River and all that stuff. But it's we have to adjust, and I guess this is the new norm that
Yeah,
we don't have to do meetings now going to our schools anymore. We can do it on the computer, right?
yeah, yeah. No, it definitely affected the whole planet. And like I said, I think there's some good came out of it. I mean, it wasn't all bad. The actual COVID itself was
Mhm.
bad, but there was some good come out of it.
The only thing now is that people have to answer another question when they say we're going to meet. People say, "Are we meeting on a computer? Or are we going to meet in
Right.
person?" So now that's
Is it?
just an extra option of stuff
Yeah.
that.
Is it a
But
Google or an in
yeah,
person?
yeah. Is
Yeah.
it Google? Is it Zoom? Are we going to meet in the school?
Right.
So those are the things that I'm sure
Right.
5 years from now we're going to have other things that we're not thinking about that we have to
Right.
do too,
Right.
but all that. So.
Yeah.
Okay, Coach. Now on the screen here on the left is your 2021 Tom River South football schedule, and then on the right is the newly formed federal division that put together a bunch of new teams in one spot. It's not the A South, and we know you're an A South guy. So you have to kind of adjust to the different names. It's called the federal this year. And that's the biggest thing, Coach, with us head coaches is we have to learn what's the name of the division this year? Because it's not
Exactly.
the A South, it's not the B South, and
Right.
you're a traditional guy. But
Hmm.
those are your teams in your division. We'll talk about that in a second. But I want you to take the floor right now and just give a little take on your 2021 schedule to the left.
Let me grab my cheaters here. So at 34 years in adds up, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, all right. Basically, yeah. I mean, we open up, with Brick Township, kind of a sentimental game for me in some ways. Brick South has always been one of the big time rivalry games. We've kind of
Oh
gotten
yeah.
away from it the last few years, so it was good to reignite that. That contest. And they're going to come in. Brick is brick, well coached. Tough kids. So it's going to be a tough opener for us. Now, with that being said, if you go down, like every team we play has championship pedigree.
Yes.
They've all won big time, games and championships. It's a daunting schedule, but we're looking forward to the opportunity. We come back at East, a sister school rivalry. That's always a big game. Brick Memorial, we're kind of familiar with being a South. Coach does a great job there.
Well, that's you and Coach Curry now, who had a
Yeah,
connection in the past playing each
right.
other. So there's a little familiarity with that, and
Yeah,
a lot of respect on both sides. Where
no, no question, no question. St. John Vianney, kind of little side note, that was our first win at South was at St. John Vianney,
uh huh.
48-47 back in 2011. We blocked the field goal. Um, and I did play them twice when I was at Monsignor Donovan. So I'm a little bit familiar with, the school, but obviously don't know much about them, recently, other
Hmm.
than I'm sure they're going to be well coached, and they play a good brand of football.
Hmm.
Um, And then we have, well, what do you have there, Coach? Oh, Freehold Borough. Dave, Coach Ellis just done a fantastic job there. Um, you know, they're athletic. You know, uh, they play a good brand of football. They put a lot of points on the board.
Hmm.
I don't expect anything different this year. Uh, Again, kind of a rekindling. Me and Coach George. We have Long
Hmm.
Branch, always good,
Oh
very
yeah.
good. Um, I'm sure they were young last year, so they'll bounce back.
Hmm.
They play real good football, and then we finish at North, which again is sister school rivalry. Always good to have that those two rivalry games. This I think going forward scheduling the three Towns River schools, I believe, no matter what they do with scheduling, will probably always be on our schedules. I think that's kind of like built in on the schedule. So tough
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah, it really is,
You know,
Coach.
it's
Coach.
it's
Yeah.
all fantastic programs that have won, uh, well coached. So it's a great opportunity for us, and we're going to go there and do our best we can.
Coach, some kids talk about rivalries, and I don't think they really know what the word means. I don't think they know what a rivalry really is. If you ask
Right.
the average kid, they know what rivalry is. But you're in the middle of Tom's River. You're Tom's River South, and tradition is big there, and school spirit is second to none. Coach, the
Right.
band and just
Yeah.
the atmosphere. Take us to it doesn't matter north or east, but a rivalry game in town where it's one board of education,
Hmm.
it's one town, and but you have three different high schools, public schools, and now you're playing each other. Do you feel different vibes when you go into the maybe the Tom River East district during the week of Tom River South, or maybe that's a no-no? You don't do that, but how important is those rivalry games, like you said, because they're always going to play each other? How important is it? Because you've been on it when you played at East, when you coached at East.
Hmm.
All right, you're at Tom River South. How important is it to both teams or the community having those games?
I'll start with the community, and I'll go back to 2012. Uh, Superstorm Sandy hit, and uh, I think it was the following week. Uh, we were we were playing North at South, and there was some talk about maybe canceling the game because our community was
Mm-hmm.
in shambles at that point. I mean, it really came through and kind of put a number on us. And I remember them being central administration saying, "Hey, what do you think? Maybe we should play the game." And I was like, "I think 100%. I agree. We should play because it brought the community. At least it gave them like 3 hours of you know some normalcy. We moved it to a Saturday afternoon, and it kind of brought the community together and a little bit, a little bit of healing perhaps for some of those that were really stricken by Superstorm Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's big in the community. Anytime South plays North, South plays East, East plays North, it's big in the community. I know they try to schedule it where maybe you can go see all three teams play if
Mm-hmm.
that's a possibility. And the week of the games, I think you you turn it up maybe another notch. A rivalry to me is you know I don't think you have much of a rivalry if one team dominates year in and year out.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to kind of share the wins. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if you go back and look at the actual all-time series with North South, Southeast, and East North, I think it's pretty close,
Mm-hmm.
as far as wins in all three schools. So in that regard, it's a true rivalry. You always, we always like that one a little bit more because of the familiarity with the players, knowing each other, and a lot of the coaches knowing each other. Um, and we try to prepare like we would any other game, but it does that. You just do have that extra little buzz,
Hmm.
right before kickoff, for those games for sure.
Well, Coach. I'm a traditionalist, and I really believe that rivalries are important. And I think that our divisions of and our schedules should be made where you got to keep those traditions. That you really do, because
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
took away Tom River East or your rivalry games, and then you're just playing teams in Monmouth County, I mean,
right, right.
in today's world, there's not a lot of tradition for these kids, and they got to have something that they know that there's going to be there for them the next year, and the next
Yeah,
year, and the next year.
and we seem to be kind of as a world, or kind of as a
Yeah,
nation, kind of getting away from traditions, So
right.
I agree with you. It's, let's keep some things intact, but yeah, I agree, Coach. It's good, and like I said, I think you'll always have East and North on our schedule, no
Hmm.
matter, regardless of what division they put us in, or the name of the division, which I can't keep up with anymore. But it's exciting. It's exciting. Playing those two.
Coach, now on the right hand side's division. Now I just want to say one thing. My 2 hour meeting that I have is usually when I explain to the kids now it's the players. Now the game's about the players. It really is. That
Right,
this is now our division. And it's only 2 hours because of the questions that they give me.
right,
And their questions are, but why? Why are we doing this? Why aren't we playing this team? But why? Because and they really want to know the answer. They really want to know because they want to play traditional rivalry, centrally located games instead of going somewhere far away. And I wish
right.
administrations that are doing these schedules and divisions kind of listen to the kids a little bit
Yeah,
more. So
yeah.
that takes me to right here now with you guys. All right. You're playing some non familiar games. You're playing a
Mhm.
Freehold, Long
Right,
Branch, St. John Vianney, and those three teams, they have
right.
big playoff views this year, and they're loaded. They're loaded. And then
Yep.
you have yourself and Tonner East, who are two rivalry teams, which I like. I like that they're you guys are playing each other. That's a
Right.
very tough division. A
Yeah.
very, very tough division, coach.
It's absolutely. I mean, we have to come, every week in and week out.
Hmm.
It's and like I said, and they've all won. They all
Hmm.
understand. Championships and division championships. So, and I go down. They're all well coached. I mean, coaching is so much more improved, I think, today than it was. Even 20, 30 years ago. Like,
Hmm.
everybody's just doing a much better job.
Hmm.
And it's probably year round, which maybe it shouldn't be. But to get that edge, everyone's trying to get their work in, and certainly no different with our schedule. We're looking forward to it. Like anyone else would, but certainly certainly we have a daunting task ahead of us.
But you're right. Every program is doing that extra in the off season that
Yeah,
makes us coaches have to do it even as much,
right,
even if it's February, March, and all that, just to gain an
right,
edge on what
yeah,
everybody. Yeah, the game is evolving to kind of mastering different techniques and fundamentals. It's nuts, coach. But that's a
it is.
very difficult division. But you know what? You guys are also being talked about when I had the other coaches on as the same situation as you're a difficult team too. So it's very, very competitive division in terms of week in, week out. It's like a playoff. Every
Yeah,
week is a playoff for you guys, coach. So I'm excited to see how that federal division panned out. I could not pick the order of the top five, coach. I probably have a better shot of picking the order of the Kentucky Derby, 1 to 5, than picking the federal. So,
and that gives us a chance. Then good. Like to
all
hear that.
right, coach. Now, if you could talk about your 2021 football coaching staff, the guys that make you look good, the guys that are glued to the program, the guys that usually don't get their names out there when,
Right.
like yourself, who won Coach of the Year last year,
Hmm.
get there. It's the program, and those assistant coaches are like the MVPs
Yeah.
there. So, coach, let's hear those great coaches' names.
Yeah, that coach of the year, that to me, they should put just coaching staff of the year. To be honest with you, because you can't do it without your assistants. They're the glue. They're the your bloodline. So valuable, and at times probably unappreciated. All right, so I'll start with our freshmen. Um, and I don't spend 2 seconds worrying about our freshman program. They are in such great hands with Dave Fanslaw, former player, Brett Hardy, former player,
Oh wow.
Joey Myers, former player, and we brought on another coach, Coach Tony. He's on board, so we have 4 freshman coaches, which I feel real good about. Usually it's like 2 coaches, but I feel like a lot of those kids are playing for the first time. You want some really good coaches down there to kind of introduce them to the game and get them to enjoy the game. Kind of be more of the good cop and we'll be the bad cop type deal. So if fantastic staff down there on the freshman level, they do a tremendous job.
Hmm.
Uh, Defensively, we'll go up now to the varsity. Defensive coordinator is Matt Martin, doing a fantastic job. He's a lifelong coach. Um, he's defensive coordinator and works with the DBs. Alongside him this year, we got Vinny Arminio, who works with the DBs as well. Who was at East and did a fantastic job at East. Um, so those two are down in the secondary. Linebackers are Joe Kelly, another former player, been with me since day one. Um, does a fantastic job. He's got hands full this year a little bit as we lost 2 really good linebackers last year. And then on the D line, we have another former player in Jimmy Drakowitz, who's been with me 10 years now. So we've had some good stability in the staff. He's working the D line with also Jimmy Dempsey, who I was blessed enough to meet at when I was at East. He was at East, and we kind of crossed paths. My early years at East, and I knew he was a good coach. I
Hmm.
could just tell he's a good coach, and he's doing a good job with the D line. That kind of rounds out our defensive staff. Our kick game coordinator is Dennis Tobin. Okay, who's been around, been a head coach. So he's a plethora of wisdom, has a lot of knowledge, and it's good to have a head ex head coach. So you kind of talk about things as head coaches. And then he also is our slot backs coach. Um, our wide receiver coach is Brian Elias. Dennis has been with me now. This will be his 4th year. Coach Brian Elias is wideouts. This will be his 4th year. Um, at our A back position is Ricky Maldonado, who is now starting his 4th year with us. He's a guidance counselor in our high school. Does a tremendous job with the kids. He's really good with talking, the things through with the kids, in a crisis situation or whatever. So he's doing a good job. He's learning every year. Up front, where we know we win ball games, we have Bill Malice, uh, who I love to death. He actually was one of Dad's star players back in the late 60s on that 68-69 team. He does a fantastic job with the O-line alongside Kyle Austin, who's been with us since day one. So we have those 2 O-line guys, and they do a really good job. I basically work with the quarterbacks and, kind of coordinate the offense. So I know it was a long list. I love all the guys, and like you say, Coach, that without them, there's what we do is not even possible. So good staff. We've had good stability. Quite a few former players, so they get the whole South thing that we're trying to continue doing. Um, don't worry 1 second about the freshman program. I know it's in great hands. So, and then our trainers, Dan Kraszewski, who's also a former, he was South graduate, was a soccer player, does a fantastic job with our guys.
My trainer was the MVP for 3 years, a couple years, because we always got hurt.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Coach, you've always spoke highly. I mean, you and I, we've been to meetings, in off season, but you always spoke highly of your staff, and rightfully so. And you have some great additions to the staff. You have a lot of experience, but I want to just zone in on one person right now, Matt Morton. All right,
Yeah.
family, because you again, I'm thinking of you. You've been in that situation where you had your father and you were underneath him, and now you have Matt Martin, who's your nephew, right?
Right.
And now he's following you, so you're grooming him too, almost like your father did to you. And Matt's doing an
Yeah.
exceptional job as a
Yeah.
defensive coordinator. Has a great reputation. He's great with the kids, and he's a just a stand-up guy. Tell me
Yeah.
something about Matt. How has he grown as a player to now he's now a responsible defensive coordinator?
Well, first of all, he's like 100 times smarter than I ever am. Like he's smart. Um, and he always knew he wanted to be a coach, whereas I didn't. So it was kind of a totally
Mm-hmm.
different start.
Mm-hmm.
And I I give Matt, our first I think 7 years, he actually ran our offense at South.
Yeah.
He played in it, um, and then was always an assistant, offensive assistant with me when I was at East, and then we went to Monsignor Donovan. I think the first 3 years he was still on the offense, and then ran the defense his last year there. And so then we come to South, and I'd give him. I mean, I didn't. The only person I would have felt good about giving the offense to was him if it wasn't me. So that worked out really well. And for 7 years, he ran our offense at South. Then we made some changes in the staff, and at that point, I wasn't coach. I didn't coach hardly anything my first 7 years. I kind of let my staff do their thing. Um, but I was missing it a little bit. So I figured, all right, let me bump Matt over to the defense, and then I'll take back the offense. And I think now this will be his fourth year running the defense. So Matt, being brilliant, he's literally able to coach any side of the ball and any position on any side of the ball. He's a football guy. It's funny because I thought earlier, I always thought he was, and I told him that I thought he was always a baseball player playing football.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it turns out he was a football player playing baseball, and he just loves Matt. Matt loves to talk football and scheme things up. Like I could see him, drawing on the napkin, like we used to. He loves that stuff, and and honestly, Coach, I give him a lot of responsibility because he's with this new technology, and
Mm-hmm.
and he talks to me his soft tissue stuff, stuff that I don't really. So I trust anything that he suggests. And he has half the team. He has half the. I don't get involved much with the defense. Yeah, and I know they're in good hands. But it's you definitely saw, and you can see him evolving. I think when we first started, he kind of clung to everything I said, learning the offense, and now he's kind of you know getting set in his ways a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
Good.
So
Good. Yeah.
uh, it's been a good run.
That's nice, man. That's really nice, man. I see a
Yeah,
lot of him, you and him. I really do. He coached both sides, just like you did.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and it's nice. That's nice that not only is he a successful coach, he's also family. So,
yeah.
and
Well, you think
that's
about when
important.
it's me, Dad, Matt, and my son Trevor in the room. Like the only thing we can talk about is South football. So and that's when we get the all right, no football, guys. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
that lasts about 2 minutes, and then
That's when you take a quick stop outside. We gotta,
exactly,
cut some wood down or
yeah,
something like that, right?
yeah.
Oh,
But
that's
I've been
awesome.
blessed with a great staff, Coach.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had stability. Like I said, a lot of former players. Just they're tremendous. And last year I missed. I was out that week, and they didn't skip a beat. We went out and we won the opener, and I wasn't there, and that to me that kind of just shows like we're all on the same page. Like I didn't need to be there. The things just ran
Mhm.
as I were there. So I think that's a telling sign.
All right, now, Coach, this is the fun part. We're going to talk 2021, or you're going to talk 2021 Tom River South football, your program, your football team this year. But before you do that, Just tell us a little bit what you do offensively, defensively, and then let's talk about those exciting football players that you keep talking about in the
Yeah,
offseason. Go ahead.
awesome. Defensively, we're going to come out. We'll be our base will be a 4-2-5, which I think offenses are kind of forcing you to go to that type of scheme because it seems like there's a lot of people running a 4-2-5.
You don't know where to put that
Uh,
safety. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, again, I'll leave that up to Matt. He'll do a good job with that. But that's our base defense. Offensively, flex bone. I'm kind of an old dog. I don't learn new tricks very well or quickly. Um, so with that being said, we basically like to play 11 on 11. When we have the football. So we'll give you some option stuff to try to make it a true 11 on 11 scheme. So that's where we are on both sides of the ball.
Now you graduated a very good senior class, and you have a very athletic group coming back, which is getting you excited because that's all I keep hearing about is Tom Rivers South has some dudes, and I know they have some dudes. I hear about it from other coaches and
Mm.
doing my research and all that, and you've been smiling ear to ear, thinking of the players that you have. So let's hear some of the players that's getting you excited.
Well, I'd still love to have last year's seniors back. Don't get me wrong. You know, um, yeah, they were a special group. Um, they a lot of them had a lot of experience, and they put it all together last year. Um, but we're excited about this year's group. One of the things that I'm excited about is our at the time, like this year's seniors who were juniors last year, kind of learned it and breathed it and lived on how to do things the right way from last year's senior group. So in that regard, we're kind of picking up what we established last year.
Mhm.
Um, and then if you throw in this year, we feel we're a little more athletic this year, and probably have a little more speed than we've had in a while. Um, but you know, coach, you know this. You make your living in the trenches. Um, that's we lost two really good guards from last year. We have a couple of back. Um, we have our two starting tackles back from last year, and we're grooming a couple of younger kids inside with the center and guards. But our tackles are Ryan Florio and Justin Kozak. Justin Kozak's been a 3-year starter for us. We threw him in as a sophomore, and he weighed about 158 pounds, and he's never looked back. Any coach would love him. Um, we like Gavin Migliori's back at wideout, who had a really good year last year,
Mhm.
about 30 catches. He's gotten bigger, so we feel real good with Gavin out there. We have to replace Tyler Matteo from last year. We have a couple of candidates out there that are I think we're going to be okay with. Of course, we lost Travis Squire, one of our slots, and we lost Jerry Ferrigno, our A back. But we like Devin Bond is a returning starter. He's back in at the L back position, bigger, faster, stronger. So we're looking for him to make some plays for us. Our A back position right now is Mikey Early, a junior, tough, tough, hard nosed football player. Uh, we'll get you tough yardage. We like Mikey a lot. Quarterback, as you know, we had Jack Huber, a 4-year starter. Tough to always replace a 4-year starter, but we feel we're in good hands with Wyatt Sternberg, who was a quarterback his freshman year, but didn't play as a sophomore or junior. In fact, last year he was our third wideout. So we brought him in to quarterback, and he's been fantastic. Uh, he's gifted. He's big. He's athletic, but he's got to learn the quarterback position. All the little nuances
Right.
that that's lacking. So we have to get him up to. I have to get him up to snuff mentally, so we can do some things with him. Um, and that's kind of where we're at offensively. Defensively, we feel pretty good with our D line, coach. We're not real big, um, But we have, again, Florio and Kozak will play some defensive line for us. Nico Crudup played; he'll be a junior. He played some as a sophomore last year. Linebacker wise, I talked earlier, we lost two really good ones. We did move Wyatt in at inside linebacker this year, kind of hoping he can play sideline to sideline. Next to him, it'll be, a junior, most likely Dave Lazaro or Joel Small. Um, we feel really good with our secondary, coach. We have some experience back. Elijah Metellus will be a 3-year starter for us. He was a corner. Devin Ravis was a second team All Shore player for us last year. He'll be a 3-year starter. He's just a tackling machine. We also like, our other corners. It'll be Cameron Stein, Migliori, uh, Terrell Kelly. All can run a little bit. Devin Bond will play some safety for us. And then Roy Pappalardo, good football player. He's a senior. Um, he's gonna be he's gonna replace Travis Squire on offense, and then he's gonna play some safety for us on defense. So we feel good about our kids being able to run and hopefully make some plays. So
Yeah,
we're excited. We're excited. It's tough to replace a really good senior group, um, but we're excited for the underclassmen, and I think the senior group is going to play well.
you have a weapon there, Coach. Your kicker,
Yeah, Cam's a
big
3-year
weapon.
kicker and punter for us. Yes, no doubt. He's really a fantastic punter. He can make all the punts. You know, you know, out of bounds. Pooch punt.
Hmm.
Uh, we need a boomer. He needs, he can boom it. And he'll also be doing our kicking, kickoffs and field goals, extra points. And again, this will be his 3rd year. So
He's got a great
we feel,
reputation.
yeah,
Great reputation.
we feel good with our kick game.
Yeah,
We
I
feel
mean,
good with
that's
that.
all
Yeah.
people talk about is that kicker that you have, and now he might be playing other positions, but that's fine. But yeah, you got some talented kids that you've had in the past, and people are talking about, and you've talked about it too. Those guys and that big linebacker now that's playing quarterback. What an opposing guy he must look, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if he just keeps it and the physicality of that. So whatever players you have in the positions, they're going to be well coached and they're going to play hard for you. You've been there 11 years, so different faces in there, different personalities though with
Hmm.
that. But a lot. This is a great makeup of knock on wood, an exciting football season and. Let the chips roll, and you have a tough division, tough schedule, but you're also tough too. So you're going to be
Right.
everybody else's tough opponent too. So
Yeah.
that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we're up against, and you can't ask for anything better than that. I agree with you, coach.
Yeah, but that band's going to be playing. I love it. I love
Yeah.
going to a South game. I just love going to a South game with the band playing. And
Ho- Hopefully, it plays Old Indian Tom a few times.
coach, I mean, I'm sure teams must practice playing with that band playing. Because I know when I was at Southern Regional, when I played there, they used to play that music of the band, and we didn't hear it. I mean, we heard it a lot during the games because, of course, we were losing when we were at Southern. But that band is something special. It seems it elevates the
Yeah,
excitement on your sidelines,
it
doesn't it?
it is. It is. I mean, I probably, obviously, I'm probably a little biased, but South is it's a nice, it's a good Friday night, for a lot of people. It brings good excitement, and like I say, getting back to, I'm just blessed to be there. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It's just fabulous.
If I'm scouting you, I'm judging the mascot, the Indian. If he's jacked and ripped, we got a
Yes.
good team. If he's real
Yeah.
skinny, you're
We're
not moving the
struggling.
ball, coach. And
Yeah.
I'll
You,
tell you what, last year and I think this year, the guy's jacked up. So, for everybody out there, the Indian does push ups after touchdowns.
yes.
He's jacked.
So, so hopefully he's doing a few. Hopefully. Yeah.
Holy smokes,
That's a
man.
good barometer on our success. What's the Indian look like?
That's what I do. I look at the Indian. If he's
That's
jacked
great.
up, like looks like Brock Lesnar, I'm done. I'm done, man. So, coach,
That's good.
thank you for coming on the show. It was awesome. Always a pleasure listening to you talk in meetings, and now people get to hear our meetings. And this is what this show's about. Instead of us talking on the cell phone, we're
Right.
talking like this.
That's
So,
great. It
so
really, you're doing I mean, I'm gonna go back and watch them now. I hadn't seen any, but it just the vibes out there for you too. Like I hear about how fantastic they are. So, um, God bless you. I'm glad you're feeling better and
oh
your health
yeah.
is coming back, and you're still in football, and it's just a great thing that you're doing
I had no parent complaints about a coach's talk yet.
here.
Not
That's
yet. Not yet.
none.
So it's all good.
No
I
10:30
miss it.
text, no 10:30 text or
Not
email.
yet.
Yeah,
The only
yeah,
text I get is who's on next. Who's
yeah.
on next, and you'll be up. Let's see, it's 10. Probably be up by 3-4 hours. This thing will be up later today,
Okay.
for your program to watch and all that, and that's great because the kids like to see the coaches on here talking and all that. So you got a lot to look forward to, Coach. I mean, you're 34 years into your coaching career and still going, which is great, going on strong.
Yeah,
You have a great staff. You have your players that you're excited about. That's a great combination. Going to
yeah,
your practices, being around people you want to be around, right?
yeah. Still love the kids. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the cliche. You love what you do. You never work a day in your life. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I've always told our players before the game, I love you. And I really meant it because
Yeah,
whatever happens, it's not going to change the way you feel with your coaches and your players right there.
exactly.
We're playing a game, and
Yep.
that game could be taken away, which was obvious last year at any time, but it's not right now. You're going to be
Right.
playing some football games. I'm going to watch a lot of your games, covering a lot of your teams, the short football report. So keep doing what you're doing. I'll do what I do, and we'll make short conference football fun this year, Coach.
Awesome.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you, Coach, for coming on the show, and I'll see you guys later.